What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Wave. Welcome back to our coverage of Game Fives, and we have a lot of changes to our brackets as Game Fives come to an end. Um, we're gonna go ahead and get started with the first game we had, which was the Indiana Pacers Cleveland Cavaliers, and this game was definitely a little shocking, um, especially watching it on my end, just because I would have thought Cleveland would have came out a little bit more fired up and a little bit more ready to play coming into this game. But they came out the game kind of hot. They were up by 12 at the end of the first, but there was no real fight from them after the second half. They had made a good run in the fourth quarter to push it to tie it up, but Indiana, they shooting 50% from the field. They came out to play. Again, another night the starters just really doing their thing. Tyrese Halliburton leading Indiana with 31, 10 for 35. That's great shooting, 6 threes. Nembhard 7 for 11 with 18. It's a pretty good night for some of these guys. Miles Turner with 10 and 7. Neesmith 13 and 13. Those are great stats. And Pascal Siakam, 21 with 2 for 5 from the 3-point line. Everybody was just doing what they kind of had to out there. We haven't really seen a lot from Benedict Mathurin. He's been getting into a lot of chippiness with specifically DeAndre Hunter, and you've seen that he was getting a lot of minutes in the series, but they didn't really run him too much tonight. To no real fail, it was fine. They were handling their business anyway without him. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, they were starting the game off pretty well, but they were at least for Jared Allen, they were able to be contained throughout the game, especially Allen with only 4 for 6. Donovan Mitchell, he came to just play. He 8 for 25, but 35 points and playing on a bum ankle, and that was something I heard a lot about this team. A lot of their players weren't healthy, but I don't know if I was necessarily buying that. I mean, Donovan Mitchell played every single game. Darius Garland, he came and he played 2 games. He had missed a few games for his toe injury. DeAndre Hunter sat out a game. I believe Evan Mobley sat out a game as well. So I don't want to talk this up to injury. I would really just say this Cleveland team, just the matchup was there, and I this is something that I said in the beginning. Cleveland had never in the regular season, they never beat Indiana. And I told you the last 2 games of the season, we saw it. Indiana just marched through, and they came into Cleveland and Indiana. They had back-to-back games, divisional, of course, and they beat them. And it was Cleveland's good. They were just resting their starters or not. Nah, Indiana was just the better team. And I could see why people wanted Cleveland to go to the conference finals because they had the better record and stuff. But Indiana, they had already went to the conference finals the year before that. This team has been slowly progressing and just getting better. TJ McConnell, not too much from him tonight with 10 minutes, no points. But, like I said, the starters for the Pacers really did what they had to do. And now Cleveland is officially finished with their season, and they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what happened and if they were just behind the 8 ball and luck and injuries, or if Indiana is really just a formidable foe. But I think the Eastern Conference needs to start game planning for this team. This team is definitely going to be here to stay, and they won't back down lightly and just they need to make some adjustments to the roster. But congratulations, Indiana. They're going to the round 3. They go to the conference finals, and rightfully so. They played really well. They're closing it out in 5. So let's move on to the next series. The next game on the slate, Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder. So this game was a thriller as well. The story of this game was really that it came down to the last 5-6 minutes of the game. It was a close match in between. If you look at the box score, Denver was up 2 by half. Scoring the exact same in quarters 1 and 2, both teams. And then they went on that run in the third quarter to, up 6, so now they're up 8, and they completely melt down in the fourth quarter, allowing Oklahoma City to kind of sneak back in. And if you go and look in the fourth quarter and see where they melted down, you could see that there's a lot of. It was kind of strange. Michael Porter Jr., again, we've had this conversation multiple times this playoff run, but just not efficient out there. Like 2 points, 1 for 7. Like, this is not the first time he's put up stats like this in this run alone. So that's something that we have to address. Michael Porter Jr. has just not been playing well. I'm sure I heard in reports of an injury in his shoulder, but again, he's just not playing well at all. Jamal Murray with 28 points, but 10 for 27, just really inefficient out there. 3 threes. Jokic, 44 on 17 and 25. He had 15 rebounds, 5 assists. He was scoring out there, but there was also times like where you saw that he was the wrench in the team in terms of their pick and roll action or him not making the right reads and all that stuff. And there was some times that I felt like he should have been a little bit more aggressive and been posted up more, and instead of settling for jump shots, especially in the last 6 minutes of the game, you saw Jokic settle for tons of shots. He hit a big one, he hit that little spin turnaround shot, but not really efficient out there like we were saying. He was 5 for 7 from the 3 though, and those 2 threes he did take in the fourth quarter that he did miss. I felt like he was settling for those a lot. Westbrook, not really much coming from off the bench. And Bruce Brown, no, I keep saying Bruce Brown, Christian Brown with only 8, 3 for 12. This is his second bad game in a row. They're going to need him to play better and step it up if they want any chance of really pulling this through. And yeah, it's Jokic and Murray and some Aaron Gordon here, but nobody else came to play. And you can see it. They shot 28% from 3, a little over 40%, but it was not pretty out there. For the least. Let's go ahead and take a look at OKC, which looks like a better balanced attack in my opinion. Chet Holmgren with 14, 6 for 9, that's efficient. Jalen Williams, not the most efficient night, but he's ended the night with 18, 2 threes, 9 rebounds. That's pretty good. Hartenstein 15 and 7. Doing what he has to do. Shea 31. That was really that 31 on an efficient 12 for 23. That's those are the numbers I want to see. He hit a crazy, dagger, to secure the game, and he only took 3 threes, 6 free throws. Do what he got to do out there. Caruso with 13 off the bench. It was just a better balanced attack from the team. They shot better from 3. The numbers just when in crunch time, when it came down to some of those shootings, we saw Oklahoma City really pick it up and run with it in the last 6 minutes of the game. So Denver's definitely not out, but again, they're in a tough spot, down 3-2. Do I see them coming out flat and just being blah? No. But Oklahoma City in 7, I just think that they have what it takes, and they're almost done and they're ready to put this series behind them. Let's see if the Nuggets can adjust. Again, there was a lot of times where poor reads of screen rolls and just poor execution, but we'll see how they respond. I think Oklahoma City could respond, and they'll do what not Oklahoma City, Denver, they'll respond. But I still see Oklahoma City. They have the series in their hands, and it would take a colossal meltdown for them to mess that up. So let's see how they do. I think they play on the 15th, which is today. So yeah, we'll see how they play, and then we'll see what happens. We should be good. But I still have Oklahoma City in 7, and let's move on to the next one. Next on the slate was the Knicks versus the Celtics, and this game was, we have to call it quite frankly for what it is. I don't know how other people saw it, but I definitely saw the Knicks losing this game. I just didn't see them coming into Boston, and with Jason Tatum getting hurt and all that. I didn't see Boston. Out of respect for Jason Tatum, I knew this Boston team would have to come out and play well. If they played like shit, you would have seen a lot of these guys that have been on the trade block, and you would have heard news about them in the free agency. But just, we'll get to this conversation later, but we know that Boston team is just not going to be the same. But it was just really Boston all night. They hit they hit 44% of their threes, and I see when they hit more than 35-40% of their threes, they score 120 plus points, which is a testament to their volume of shooting. And they were on tonight. Mikal Bridges, he had a pretty subpar game, and he was a blaring noticeable unproductive for the Knicks. And same thing with Anunoby. Those two were they took together 26 shots and they've only made 5. So yeah, they were really inefficient out there. Karl Anthony was doing what he had to do, but it just wasn't enough. Brunson, they were finding ways to contain him, and Josh Hart, man, that injury to his face was when it originally happened, it was so graphic that I jumped. I was like, what the fuck? This dude's bleeding, but it turns out he was okay. It was the most freak injury basketball thing I've ever seen, and I'm glad that he was able to stay in the game. He had 24. He played decently that night. Not as decently as the stats suggest, as he did have the second lowest plus minus for the team. But yeah, Boston just really came to play. Al Horford, 12 points, 2 threes. You can't ask for more than that. Kristaps Porzingis, again, surprisingly not that good. Not that good in this postseason run. But again, he started too, actually, and he only played 12 minutes, so that's actually kind of strange. Drew Holiday with 14. That's a decent game, 5 for 8. Derek White, 34. I think he was the game high. I'm not wrong. He was game high. He had even more than Jaylen Brown, which is kind of funny. But Derek White, Jaylen Brown combining for, I believe, 60. They're hitting 10 threes together. It is just a good matchup out there. And then you had Peyton Pritchard with 17 off the bench. He took a lot of minutes. And Luke Cornett, he came and he just had not even a breakout game, but just a statement game. He had 10 points, and it was a loud 10 points. He had 7 blocks. It was a loud 7 blocks. He was pinning shit. He almost had a triple-double with blocks and rebounds. So he had a monster night out there. And yeah, he was really the X factor for the Celtics. He really took them over the top. His 10 and Pritchard's 17 was really enough to hold them back, which is actually funny because they lost by 25. They gave them 27, those two alone. So, those guys and those two alone added to just on top. And the Knicks didn't have anything coming off to kind of balance it out. Cameron Payne, he didn't score. We only played 5 minutes though. Mitchell Robinson, he went 6 for 6 on the free throw line, so we have to give our props there. He had 13 rebounds off the bench. You can't really complain about that. That was, what more can you ask for? McBride, not too shabby out there. He did have 3 threes. He's been shooting 50% from the field this whole series. So, I don't know if that was something New York wanted to lean in more, but it was just the starters just not playing well at all. Only Hart hit multiple threes. Everybody else was kind of for the starting lineups, McBride off the bench, only one really sparking anything, but it just wasn't enough out there. And yeah, we'll see. I think Boston, the series is still kind of over. 3-1 is kind of hard to kind of jump over, and they play on, I believe, Friday is the 16th, or Thursday. They play Thursday, so we'll see. I think New York will close it out in the Garden, 6 games, just like in the previous series, and I think New York should be going on to face Indiana. I had Boston originally, but with Tatum getting hurt and the Knicks putting them in statistical jail, I don't see them really doing the 3-1 comeback thing. And yeah, I think their series is about over. And New York, Indiana, we'll get ready for that. We won't officially say anything. We'll wait for the official release of the bracket. But it's New York is in a good spot. I know they lost this game, but with Jalen Brunson only hitting 1 3 and he still had 22 at the end of the night, and same thing with Cat, almost 20. Mikal Bridges, he was in a little bit of a woe, so it's okay. It's understandable that they lost by this much, but I don't see them losing again. It would really be unprecedented for them to just drop a game like that in the Garden. But we'll go ahead and see. Again, I think New York is pretty much set here. I think they're ready to move on to the next round, and they just need to handle their business. If not, you'll see me back for a Game 6 video where we talk about how the Knicks blundered and how they need to make it up in Game 7. So. let's go ahead and see how that goes. But yeah, New York should still have this. All right, so the next game on the slate was the Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves, and this game was just this is what we've been seeing all series. This series is officially wrapped up. Minnesota Timberwolves, they will be moving on to the conference finals, as they rightfully should. Let's go ahead and take a look at their box score really fast. Julius Randle, he's just been playing his best basketball. We've had this conversation for like 3 games now. He found the series that was just like good for him. He's had a good series against the Lakers too. So he's just going on a good run, and it's actually funny because while he was in New York, Julius Randle was playing well. It was just that he could never stay healthy. And then the one year that he was like on the run, he had the shoulder injury. So, New York would have really loved to have him during this run right now, but he's in Minnesota doing his thing, and they have Karl-Anthony Towns, and that we're gonna talk about that trade later on. But that seems like to be one of the most even trades I've ever seen. Honestly, like you gave up Randall for Cat, and both teams are like bound or like going to the finals. So it's like a win-win trade in my opinion. Jaden McDaniels with 14, Gobert with 17 and 8. Like again, just looking like an offensive juggernaut out there. Mike Conley with 16. Mind you, he's beyond those days of averaging like 16, 17 points a game. Mike Conley with 16, 4 threes. He's cooking out there. Anthony Edwards. When you see Anthony Edwards is not the leading scorer, but he still has 20 on efficiency, game's over. Like the team is just on something. 6 players with double figures, while only 8 suited up. So, and Naz Reid was like a bucket off from double digits. So like this team was just they're on this roll. They're cooking up right now. It's just this team was just, with Steph Curry getting hurt, it made this series definitely more like, okay, like this, they should be fine. Like, and yeah, now, I mean, Timberwolves, they did great. Congratulations to them. And they're moving on to the conference finals, and for twice and back for the 2 times in a row. But let's go ahead and take a look at this Warriors team. Draymond with 10. Jackson Davis with only 2. I feel like he needs to get a little bit more aggressive as a big. Just, sometimes he'll score like 3-4 shots, and then he'll just kind of plateau and just kind of fade to the back. Again, Jimmy Butler with 17, with 4 for 11. A little bit more aggressive than he was the previous game. Not aggressive enough like he was in Game 3. Buddy Hield, he had some good games this series and playoffs, but it's just this game is just not enough. No, 0 for 4 from the 3-point line, and it's just not efficient out there. Podziemski, he came back with some bounce back games. This Timberwolves series had been very stressful on him. He hadn't really been playing his best ball, but he definitely came to play in Game 5. Same thing with Kuminga. He's been playing in the last couple games, especially with Steph coming out. I believe that the Warriors should try to trade him, like now, because like the only reason I say now is because you have Jimmy Butler under contract. They play the same position. He's showing the NBA and the world that he has glimpses of some talent, and he's hot right now. And he's on a rookie deal, extended. He's like perfect. Teams would grab him up in a heartbeat. Because you can't have Butler and him. And, you got to get something out of something. So, Kevon Looney, only played 6 minutes this game. And to see how this team is deeper in terms of how many players they play, just because, they're trying to figure out an offensive scheme with no Steph Curry. And it's like when Steph Curry played, they won. When he didn't play, they lost. So, it's very, very clear that not that the Timberwolves beat the Warriors because Steph Curry got hurt, but Steph Curry getting hurt opened the door for Minnesota to finish this out in a faster time frame than with Steph playing. So it sucks to see, but it sucks to see for the Warriors. It's awesome to see for the Timberwolves, and they're sitting there waiting to see who they're going to play. They get some time to rest because their series is wrapped up, and I'm sure they'll hope to push Denver and OKC to 7 so they could just be as tired as possible and But yeah, Anthony Edwards, he's on a run right now. He just took down LeBron, Luca, and now he took down Steph, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond. So now he's about to either see Jokic or Shea, and it's exciting, man. And if I'm the way it's looking, we're gonna get a new champion this year, a first time champ. We're gonna get that for the first time. It's either gonna be Edwards, or it could be Jokic could come back. They could. They're not out, but for all intents and purposes of this conversation and this comment, um, it's looking like Shea's about to go to his first finals, or Anthony Edwards, Brunson, or Halliburton. And those are four players. Those are new guys to the game. I think it's going to do a lot of great things to the game. Just my little quick rant on that. Just because dynasties build fan base and they build like it's like the Yankees, like when they were just on that dominant run of just championship, like it just brings like it's like the old school versus the new school, and like this new school looks great, and these new young players are like it's going to be an exciting series. And as some of these stars come out, like James Harden, LeBron, Steph Curry, those guys, those names, and some of these new names start coming in, like Halliburton and Nimhard and all these other guys, it's just going to be exciting. It's going to be great. But yeah, again, shout out to the Timberwolves. Golden State, they made the right idea by trading for Butler. Let's see how they piece that together and keep that going. But yeah, Minnesota's moving on to the conference finals. And with that, man, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on this episode of The Wave, covering Game 5. Again, please feel free to drop the comments. I want to hear your takes. I want to hear the Timberwolves fans. I want to hear them cheer their team on. Same thing with the Knicks. Anybody, any takes. Like I said before, we want to build that community. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, man, and I'll see you guys in the Game 6 videos. That one should be really shorter. There's like half the teams left. I might even try to do an experiment where we'll look at some more like play-by-play stuff and just kind of analyzing what we see. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Ciao.